What if I told you that financial freedom isn't some far-off dream reserved for the super-rich? What if it is actually a skill, a technique that anyone can learn? Today, we're diving into a book that could completely change your relationship with money. It is called The Road to Financial Freedom by Bodo Schäfer. First, let's talk about the author. Bodo isn't some academic living in an ivory tower, spinning theories. This is a guy who literally pulled himself out of the mud. At 26, he was drowning in debt, struggling to even make rent. But, just 4 years later, he was financially free, living entirely off the interest from his investments. That real-world experience makes his words incredibly powerful. He gets the anxiety, the confusion, and even the avoidance that normal people feel when it comes to money. This book has sold over 10 million copies and been translated into 35 languages. So why did it blow up? Because it shatters a huge myth, the idea that financial freedom is only for the wealthy. Bodo shows you that any ordinary person can build wealth. Step using a repeatable. He is not going to tell you to gamble on stocks or play the lottery. Instead, he helps you rebuild your entire understanding of money from the ground up. Think of it like this. Before you learn to drive, you have to learn the rules of the road. Before you can make money, you have to understand the rules of wealth. So, what exactly is financial freedom? It is not about having $1 billion. It is about having the power to choose. It is the freedom to quit a job you hate without panicking. It is the peace of mind to know that if a family member gets sick, you can cover the medical bills. It is the ability to be present for your kids as they grow up, instead of being a slave to a timesheet. As Bodo says in the book, money should give you security and freedom, giving you the chance to live the life you actually want. That is what we're all really after. But so many of us have a deeply conflicted relationship with money. On one hand, we want more of it. On the other, we carry these hidden beliefs that rich people are evil, or that talking about money is tacky. We complain about not having enough, then turn around and spend our entire paycheck on things that don't really matter. These subconscious thoughts are like invisible hands, quietly squeezing our wallets shut. Bodo shares a powerful story from his childhood. When he was 6, he visited his sick father in the hospital and saw person after person come to his father for help. At the core of all their desperate stories was the same problem: no money. The helplessness and loss of dignity he witnessed in those people made him vow, "I will never live a life like that." That detail is so moving. At its core, the desire for money is a desire for a life with dignity. But desire isn't enough. The truth is, most people have no clue where they actually stand financially. How much did you spend last month? How much debt do you have? How many of your assets are actually making you money? It is like driving a car without ever looking at the dashboard. You are bound to run off the road. So, let's start there. Do you really know your financial situation? This isn't about making you anxious. It is about finding your starting point. After all, you can't plan your route until you know where you are on the map. Most people avoid looking at their finances like a student avoiding a bad report card. We think if we don't look, the problem doesn't exist. But Bodo sounds the alarm in his book. Your attitude towards money is hidden in your bank statements. Your plan for the future is written on your balance sheet. If you want to change your financial destiny, the first step is to stop being an ostrich. You have to be able to clearly answer a few questions. Let's do a quick financial checkup. The book has 24 self-analysis questions, but I've picked out the 5 most crucial ones. You can answer them in your head right now. Question 1. How would you rate your income? From excellent to very poor. Now, this isn't about comparing yourself to others. It is about comparing your income to your needs. You might make $10,000 a month, But if you have an $8,000 mortgage payment, calling your income good is just lying to yourself. I've seen countless people whose salary tripled, but their debt grew fivefold because their desires expanded even faster than their income. Question 2. Is your net worth positive or negative? Your net worth is your total asset savings, house, stocks, minus your total liabilities, mortgage, credit card debt, online loans. Someone might say, I have a $1 million house. But if they have an $800,000 mortgage, their net worth from that house is only $200,000. Even worse, some people have $50,000 in assets but $100,000 in debt. Their net worth is negative $50,000. That means everything they own isn't even enough to cover what they owe. Question 3. Do you save at least 10% of your income every month? Bodo calls this the golden rule. He has seen countless high earners making $50,000 a month who save nothing because they think, I'll always make more later. But the truth is, if you can't save 10% now, you won't save it when you are making more. Saving isn't about putting aside what is left over after spending. It is about spending what is left over after saving. It is like watering a plant. You water the roots first, not the leaves. Question 4. Do you have a clear financial plan? A plan isn't, I hope I make more money next year. A plan is, I will save a $30,000 emergency fund within 3 years, or I will invest in a small rental property within 5 years. Bodo gives an example of two people with the same income. One just goes with the flow and is still living paycheck to paycheck 5 years later. The other follows a plan to save 15% and learns about index funds. In 5 years, they have a $60,000 portfolio. The only difference was a... Question 5. Are the people around you richer or poorer than you? Bodo says, your social circle is the average of your financial level. If you are surrounded by life for today, people who only talk about the newest bubble tea spot or the latest handbag drop, it is almost impossible not to get sucked into that lifestyle. But if you have friends who are quietly buying property or studying investments, you'll naturally start to wonder, how are they doing that? The influence of your environment is 10 times more powerful than you think. After that checkup, some of you might be panicking, thinking, wow, my situation is way worse than I thought. But Bodo says that seeing the reality isn't about beating yourself up. It is about figuring out where to start climbing. Just like on a mountain, you need to know you are at 500 meters before you can plan your ascent to 1,000 meters, and then to the summit. He is the perfect example. At 26, not only was he 40,000 euros in debt, he was also 18 kilos overweight and completely lost. But the very first thing he did was create a detailed financial inventory, who he owed, the interest rates, how much he could pay back. That list was painful to look at, but it became his map out of the swamp. 3 years later he was debt-free and had saved his first golden goose, capital that could start earning interest for him. So, no matter how bad your numbers look right now, you should feel relieved. At least now you know where the problems are. The next step is to shatter the false beliefs that are holding you down. Beliefs like, I'll never make big money, or saving will make my life miserable. These ideas are the invisible traps, far more dangerous than any debt. Bodo argues that almost every overnight success is built on a learnable system of logic. It is like learning to swim. You need to master breathing. To earn money, you need to master the rules of the game. And the rules can be learned. First, you have to unlock your wallet from the poverty mindset. Bodo lists the most common wealth killers. I am just not destined to make a lot of money. This is the most dangerous self-fulfilling prophecy. When Bodo was 40,000 euros in debt, he thought his life was over. But he realized that believing this was like slapping a label on himself. What you believe, you become. If you constantly say, "I am bad at math," you'll stop trying. If you say, "I can't make money," you'll subconsciously avoid every opportunity that comes your way. Saving will ruin my quality of life. Many people equate saving with being cheap, but Bodo's experience was the opposite. When he started saving 10% of his income, his life got better because he felt a sense of security. Real saving isn't about depriving yourself. It is about using temporary discipline to buy long-term freedom. A farmer saves seeds in the fall, not because he hates eating, but so he can have a harvest next year. I'll learn about money when I have more of it. This is completely backward. Bodo says, financial skill is like a muscle. It gets stronger with use. If you don't train it, you could be given a mountain of gold and you'd lose it all. We've all heard stories of lottery winners who end up broker than before because they never learned how to manage money, only how to spend it. The real starting point of wealth is taking 100% responsibility. Bodo tells a powerful story of twin brothers who grew up in the same poor, dysfunctional home. One became a street hustler, saying, "What do you expect? Look at the family I came from." The other worked his way through law school and became a successful lawyer, saying, "Because of where I came from, I knew I had to change." Same environment, different outcomes. The key is how you react. Poor people look for excuses. Rich people look for solutions. Taking responsibility isn't about blaming yourself. It is realizing that no one is coming to save you. Only you can. So, you've faced your finances and might have found a scary reality. You are not just a zero, you are in the red. Debt can feel like a mountain you'll never climb. But Bodo offers a crucial piece of advice. Debt isn't a death sentence. It is a financial code. First, you have to understand that not all debt is created equal. Bodo splits it into two types. Stupid debt. This is debt that makes you poorer. It is debt for consumption. The latest phone, a fancy vacation, a luxury handbag. The money you spend brings zero financial return, only the stress of monthly payments. This is essentially paying money to own a liability. Smart debt. This is debt that can make you richer. It is debt for investment, like a loan for a rental property where the rent covers the mortgage, or a business loan where the profits far exceed the interest. The key difference: stupid debt drains your pocket. Smart debt, used wisely, can help fill it. If you are dealing with stupid debt, Bodo offers a cut-the-cord strategy that he used to pay off his 40,000 euros in 3 years. Trick number 1. Lock up your credit cards and use cash. Bodo calls credit cards consumer anesthesia. Swiping is painless. The bill is what hurts. He advises cutting up all but one emergency card and switching to cash for daily spending. If your monthly budget is $3,000, withdraw it in 4 weekly envelopes of $750. When you physically see the money leaving your hands, you become much more mindful of your spending. Trick number 2, the 50/50th principle. This is a game changer. A common mistake is throwing every spare dollar at debt, leaving nothing for savings. Then an emergency hits: a car repair, a medical bill, and you have to borrow money again, falling right back into the trap. Bodo's method: of the money left after essential expenses, you use half to pay down debt and put the other half into savings. This way, you are both killing debt and building a safety net. Saving and paying off debt are not an either-or choice. You must do both simultaneously. Trick number 3. Don't hide from your creditors. Proactively negotiate. Many people ignore calls from collectors, hoping they'll go away. Bodo says this is the worst thing you can do. The more you hide, the more interest racks up. Be upfront. He himself went to his bank manager and said, "Look, this is what I can realistically pay per month. Can we lower the interest? Otherwise, I might never be able to pay it all back." The bank agreed. For them, getting the principal back is better than a total default. Once you start chipping away at that bad debt, a wonderful thing happens. You start to have a surplus. The anxiety starts to fade. Now, it is time to think about how to make money come to you. After all, saving and paying off debt gets you out of poverty. But to build wealth, you have to increase your income. Many people think, my salary is fixed, so I can't earn more. Bodo argues that your salary is just the starting point, not the finish line. True high earners know how to make money chase them. He did this using 3 core methods. Become an expert. The biggest difference between average and high earners isn't effort, it is how irreplaceable they are. As Bodo says, if you do what everyone else can do, you'll earn what everyone else earns. Specialize. Go deep in your field, then make your expertise visible. Write, speak, share, and help others solve problems. Expertise is like a fire. You have to fan it for it to grow. Open multiple income pipelines. Person relying on a single paycheck has zero financial resilience. Bodo stresses the importance of multiple income streams. Think about turning a hobby into a side hustle, using your skills for freelance work. Or, most importantly, making your money work for you. Even just investing $100 a month into an index fund is a start. This is passive income. It starts small, but grow. Change your income habits. Most people get a raise and immediately upgrade their lifestyle. Their spending rises to meet their new income. Bodo's counterintuitive approach: when you get a raise, automatically save 50% of the increase. If your salary goes from $5,000 to $6,000 a month, put an extra $500 straight into savings and use the other $500 to improve your life. This way, you get a leaky. Now, let's talk about the most famous analogy in the book. The goose that lays the golden eggs. The story is simple. A farmer has a goose that lays 1 golden egg every day. He gets greedy, kills the goose to get all the eggs at once, and ends up with nothing. The moral is the foundation of wealth. Your savings are the goose. Your investment returns are the golden eggs. Most people either never start raising a goose, they don't save, or they kill it for short-term gratification. They dip into their savings. Raising the goose savings. The rule is simple. Pay yourself first. Set up an automatic transfer to move 10% of your paycheck into a separate savings account the day you get paid. This account is your goose. Do not touch it. Don't borrow from it for a vacation or a new phone. Once that goose is harmed, it never grows back the same. Getting golden eggs, investing, just saving isn't enough. That is a goose laying tiny eggs. Investing is how you teach it to lay golden eggs. The magic here is compound interest, which Einstein called the 8th wonder of the world. It is interest earning interest. To understand its power, use the rule of 72. Divide 72 by your annual interest rate to find out how many years it takes for your money to double. At a 12% annual return, 72 divided 12 equals 6 years to double your money. At a 6% annual return, several your money soon. This is why starting early is more important than starting with a lot of money. For the average person, Bodo recommends diversified, long-term investments like broad market index funds, like the S&P 500, not high-risk stock picking. The key is to hold for the long term. Short-term market fluctuations are just noise. The long-term trend is the signal. Bodo Schäfer lays out a clear 3-step ladder to climb towards wealth. You can't just leap to the top. You have to climb rung by rung. Step 1. Financial protection. This is your foundation. It is about building a safety net so that a sudden job loss or medical emergency doesn't send you into a spiral. The goal here is to save 6 to 12 months of essential living expenses. This money should be kept in a safe, easily accessible place, a high-yield savings account, or money market fund. This is your life raft. With this in place, you gain the power to say no to a toxic boss or a bad situation, because you need to survive. Step 2. Financial security. This is when your goose starts working for you. The goal is to have enough capital invested that the passive income, the golden eggs, covers your essential living expenses. You no longer have to work to survive. You've escaped the rat race. A simple formula to estimate the capital needed is your monthly essential expenses x 150. So if you need $5,000 a month to live, you need a capital base of $750,000, earning an average of 8% per year. At this stage, step 3, financial freedom. This is the top of the ladder. Now, your passive income covers not just your needs, but also your dreams. The annual vacation, the donations to causes you care about, helping your family, all paid for by your investments. You have complete control over your time. You work if you want to, on what you want to, when you want to. Money is no longer a factor in your daily decisions. It is simply a tool to live your ideal life. But even with the best plan, Bodo warns that one final element is crucial: your environment. He says wealth is like a plant. You can have the best seed, the knowledge and soil, your effort, but without sunlight and rain, your environment, it won't grow. Your circle. You are the average of the people you spend the most time with. If your friends are constantly complaining and spending, you will too. If they are growing and learning, they will pull you up with them. You don't need to ditch your old friends, but you must proactively seek out people who are where you want to be. Your mentors. Bodo says that without his mentors, it would have taken him at least 10 more years to become free. A mentor is a shortcut. They've already walked the path and can warn you about the pitfalls. A good mentor can be someone in your field who is 3 to 5 years ahead of you, or a trusted author whose books you study deeply. Your mindset. This is the software that runs the whole system. You need the courage to make mistakes, the discipline to reject excuses, and the patience to stick with it for the long haul. Wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. When you close a book like this, it is easy to feel motivated for a day and then do nothing. The magic is in small, consistent action. Here is a simple, scannable action plan you can start right now. Do this today. 1 hour financial checkup. Do the 5-question quiz, honestly. Write down the numbers. Open your Goose account. Open a new, separate savings account online. Name it My Goose. Set up an automatic transfer. Right now, schedule a recurring transfer for 10% of your income to go into that account the day after you get paid. Automate it so you can't fail. Do this week. Create a debt list. List all your debts, interest rates, and start applying the 50/50th principle. Start a success journal. Every day, write down 3 things you did well, no matter how small. I resisted buying coffee today. This builds confidence. Delete 2 traps. Remove the shopping or social media apps that trigger your impulse spending. Do this month. Read 1 financial book. It could be another one by Bodo, or something simple, like The Richest Man in Babylon. Take notes. Connect with one person. Reach out to one person who is ahead of you financially. Ask for 15 minutes of their time to hear their story. As Bodo writes at the end of his book, the person you will be in 7 years will thank the person you are today for taking that first small step. Wealth isn't something that just happens to you. It is built from today's savings, this week's learning, and this month's connections. So put down the list and take the very first step. Open that bank account. Change begins the moment you stop waiting.